Hey there.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am doing good. How's your morning going so far?
It is going good. It's 9 a.m. here, so it's barely starting, but so far it's starting pretty good.
Good, good. So I am super excited, everyone. Sorry, I have a window right behind me, so I literally have to turn around so that so I'm gonna be like holding my phone. So sorry if I'm moving around too much. But okay, so my name is Crystal Leon. I'm from a sailor's wife. Good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. Let us know what time it is today for you guys. For me, it's 11 already. You said it's 9 o'clock where you're at.
I'm here.
Okay, so my name is Crystal. I'm from a sailor's wife. And so I'm a lifestyle blogger, content creator, influencer, and I'm super excited because I have an awesome guest today. So you want to introduce yourself?
I am Angelique Charles. I'm from the Lippy Butterfly, and I'm in Arizona, so it's only 9 a.m. here, like we said. But I am a patient advocate for lipedema, and it is Lipedema Awareness Month, and we're doing this today for the Lipedema Foundation, which is really exciting.
Yeah,
Shout
it's so
out to the
exciting.
Lipedema Foundation for doing this.
Yeah, big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. I think it's so important that we really educate everybody a little bit about it and, maybe some of the struggles you're going through. So I'm going to ask tons of questions. Um, Ooh, girl, do we have a Jamaican in the house? Okay, I
It
think
looked
I
like
see.
I had the bandana. I was like, hello.
Yeah,
Hello from Jamaica and Denmark. Hello.
nice. Denmark. Okay, girl. Awesome. Okay, so we're really just gonna jump into it. Gosh, where do I start? When you were diagnosed, okay, because I have my little cheat sheet here, okay? When you were diagnosed, can you tell me, like, w- tell me a little bit about your background? When did you get diagnosed, first of all?
So the story actually starts way, way before diagnosis, and that is one of the biggest issues with lipedema, and that's why we need to actually bring a lot of awareness to it. The signs of me having lipedema were present in adolescence when I was a toddler. My mom was asking the doctors, why the fat formations on my legs were, like, why were they bulbous like that? And the doctors were like, your baby has cellulite. And she's like, a baby with cellulite? Like, that doesn't actually jive. But in addition to that, like, there was a lot of other things like weak ligaments and tendons. I had a lot of sprained ankles, like a ton of sprained ankles. I didn't have any broken bones until my 30s, but I sprained my ankle religiously, like almost like every week, especially during the summer when I was more active. And I was an active kid. I did a lot of stuff with the church, like dance stuff, and I was active in plays and things like that. I did basketball camps in the summer, a lot of swimming. So I wasn't a sedentary kid, but I was constantly gaining weight. And my parents started me on diets like super early. I think my first visit to Weight Watchers was around like 7 or 8. I was super young in diet programs at 12 years old, whole summer diet programs, and they were very minimal weight loss with very big rebound effects, like within weeks, really gaining back sometimes double what I had lost. So in my teens, the problem continued to exacerbate, but it targeted around my hips and thighs tremendously. And those became very, very large and very, very heavy. And I started having a lot of back pain, a lot of back problems. And every time that we would present any of these issues to the doctors, they would only say that I needed to lose weight. They would recommend another doctor. Another diet. They would recommend weight loss surgery. So I started going to like weight loss surgery informational visits as like a teenager. And after like so much unsuccessfulness with trying to lose weight, like around my early adult life, I just gave up. I was like, I am so tired of dieting. I'm going to just embrace my body. And that's where I was at in my early 20s. I did a couple of more fad diets, but they had no significant help. And some of them actually even hurt me, like the 6-week body makeover. Having such a decrease in sodium caused me to have a lot of heart palpitations. But around 25, I took a trip to the Bahamas, and when I got back, I had some hardening in my thighs. And in the beginning, I was able to kind of rub it out. After a while, that was unsuccessful. And those hard areas started to become black, very dense hardness. And they were just huge. They were like beach ball sizes, kind of like hanging in the middle of my thighs. When I walked, they would have to be pushed to the back. And that continued down my legs. My legs continued to get bigger on the bottoms. Then my upper arms continued to get larger. And I started asking the doctors if it was lymphedema, because that was the only thing at the time that I could find just with Google searches. I think it was really Yahoo searches at the time. But that's the best that I could come up with. And the doctors were telling me absolutely not. Lymphedema was not possible. Most of the time, my feedback on lymphedema was because I had it on both sides. And they didn't see lymphedema presented on both sides at the same time. So I frustratingly gave up and had weight loss surgery at the age of 30. And at that time, I lost about 120 pounds. And you would be like, yes, that's great. Except for my mobility was worse. I was having a harder time walking, a harder time getting in the car, a harder time driving, period. My legs were just harder to even move because of where the bulbs were at. And at that time, I went back to my doctor and said, what is going on? Because I'm only losing weight in my upper body. I'm absolutely not losing any in my lower body. And so it doesn't make any sense. And the doctor said to me then, these were the doctor's words, "This is lymphedema. I don't know much about it. You're a smart girl. You're going to have to go back and research this for yourself." But I was
Oh my
very
God.
If you've been on this journey for that long and you finally get just an answer, even if the answer doesn't come with any information, you are so excited to just finally have somebody say, yes. Number one, I was right all along. I had gone through cellulite. No, I had gone through stuff for cellulitis, which I might have had at the time. I had also gone through treatment for blood clots, which later were determined to not be possible. So being on so many different bad paths, including at this point now having a surgery that didn't even help me with my mobility, now having a name with it was like, thank you. So it took about 3 months to research what treatments were available. And I found a treatment. I went to my doctor who was out of town, and I got a different doctor who told me there is no treatment for lymphedema. I said, well, there's no cure for lymphedema, but there's treatment, and I just really would like to know if you can, send the referral for me. All I need is a referral. She's like, there is no treatment for lymphedema. I'm like, okay, well, would you at least just send a referral so I can be seen by these people? I ended up having to send the referral myself. She slammed the door in my face and told me that I could wait for my own doctor to get back to get my pain medicine, which I needed severely at that time.
Oh my gosh.
So like the journey with actually getting to diagnosis, and mind you, I'm not even to lipedema yet. The journey to getting to diagnosis was like tremendously hard. That wasn't even where it started. Like when I got to lipedema, I was like elated. So I got the diagnosis, I got into treatment, and 1 month into treatment, I lost my mobility completely. Like we were just completely too late in my progress. Things had gone way, way too far. So with not being able to have my mobility, I was bedbound. I was homebound, and I stayed in that place for about the next 2 years until I thought I was progressing, but I was progressing really slowly. But then I had an ankle break, and the ankle break really, really took me under. But I was blessed to be able to go to a facility where Dr. Andrea Brennan, was the director. And she is a guru, a fanatic in lipedema. And I only had 20 minutes with her on that visit, but she looked at me really quick, touched me, got all into my business of if you've had lipedema, you understand, like, when they're getting in and they're feeling around, it can be a little bit jarring in that, but
Yeah.
I appreciated someone actually taking the time to feel what was going on with my body and to see that they were very, very abnormal. But she looked at it and she was like, this is lipedema. And she's like, I'm sorry, kid. I'm sorry that we have to send you home. She was like, anything that we can do, let us know. But at least getting to lipedema gave me like a fresh hope. Unfortunately, that hope was really, really short-lived. I ended up in a nursing home for the next 2 years.
Wow. And how
And
old were you when that happened?
I was 35 at the
Wow.
point where I entered the nursing home. And I was unable to get the treatment that I needed while I was there. I was unable to be seen by our guru, Dr. Karen Herbst, while I was even in Tucson in the nursing home. But insurance, doctors, facilities, all of that made it just impossible to get to the people who could help me the most. So after I returned, though, I was able to get back into Andrea Brennan's facility, and that's where hope honestly began. I was, now carrying the diagnosis of lipolymphedema or lipedema that has progressed so far that it also even has lymphedema attached to it. So lymphedema was right, but lipedema was, underlying that. But finally getting to a place where like people actually understood what was going on was refreshing, and it actually was the beginning of hope. It was the beginning of like, maybe there's something that can help me to get back to a normal life and not being bedbound, not being homebound, not having to go back to facilities and things like that. So it was getting to the diagnosis that was the journey.
And it's so crazy to me that it took so long for them to kind of figure out that this is what you had. So, like the doctors, how unfortunate, right? Because we go to them because we're thinking, wow, they must have the answers.
Right.
They're supposed to help us. They're supposed to be, caring. And they kind of just like said, okay, well, we don't really know. You figure it out, do your own thing. And you kind of, as a person, I feel like as a woman, we already struggle, right, with our self confidence. And I mean, we always see some type of flaws in ourselves. So I can't even imagine, like, if you were struggling since you were a kid to be going through that your entire life, and then for somebody to say, oh, well, we're not sure what to do. Like, what the heck? Like, you're just thinking in your head, like, are you kidding me right now?
There's another underlying factor that goes on too. Like when you walk into the doctor's office as a fat woman, you are automatically judged as being lazy, an overeater. And I think that it sometimes is multiplied a little bit when you come in as a black fat woman. Because you're automatically assumed to be uneducated. You don't have any idea what's going on, what we're talking about here. You haven't done your research. What you need, one doctor told me what I needed to do was eat one boiled egg and some lettuce, and that would solve my problem. And I'm
Oh my gosh.
like,
So you gotta think, like, these are doctors, are you kidding me?
yeah. But I'm like, and through my research, what you're telling me would be absolutely wrong for my body. So,
Right.
but the understanding that we're human people who are educated, who are intelligent, who actually, in some regards, have some form of self-esteem, it goes out of the window in some cases when we walk into the doctor's office.
Absolutely.
And then when we walk out, there's such a feeling of defeatedness. Even here recently, I know what I have, I know what I do. And then I went to a chiropractor. I mean, just a chiropractor. And immediately they're like, well, if you would exercise, this could get better. And I'm like, you haven't even asked what my exercise regimen is. You're only
Wow.
looking at my body and assuming. You haven't asked what the underlying conditions are that I have, in which case I could have explained to you what is going on. And if we had have gone that far, it could have actually helped you to understand how to treat me better, especially given that one of the issues that comes along with lipedema a lot of times is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So being that we have a lot of loose, flexible joints and things like that, that could have helped at the chiropractor's office. But instead, the immediate judgment that you're fat, you need to change your diet and your exercise.
Unbelievable. Like I'm so shocked that this is the way it is. And so this is why we're here today, right? Because we need to raise awareness. We have to be the voice. Like you're sharing information with women who probably feel the same way as you, have gone through some of the similar situations, and are looking for answers and can't find them. So, okay, I have to ask you. So you found this doctor, but it took you a while to get there. Like, what advice do you have for other women going through the situation that you're going through? Like, even if they may, let's just say even these women have children that may be going through it, or have a suspicion that their children have it. Like, what is your advice?
My first piece of advice actually doesn't even come from me. It comes from a lady named Hiba who spoke at the FDRS conference this past April. And what she said actually resonated with me in trying to get back on track with my journey. And it's to not give up. You might have to interview several doctors, but keep going through doctors until you find the doctor who is willing to listen, who has some understanding or is willing to gain that understanding. I'm sorry, Hiba. I think I said Hiba, but thank you, Patty. Hiba from the FDRS conference. Don't give up. She said that she interviewed, I think it was like 25 or something like that, doctors before she found her PCP. It is okay to do that. Present them with the standard of care, which so awesomely was created for us just a few years ago by Karen Herbst and her team. And it not only helps us with information, but it helps to give the doctors information. So even if your doctor isn't willing to listen to what you have, give them that anyway, because who knows what's going to happen in the future. At least they'll have that piece of information there if they need some bathroom reading or midnight reading or something like that. Maybe they'll pull it out, and maybe it will benefit someone else down the line. And especially with children, don't accept that your kid is just fat, especially when you know what you feed them, you know what their activity level is. Don't just accept that your kid is fat, and don't let the doctors just talk to them as if they are a lower class citizen because of their weight. If you're noticing that they've got big legs, big thighs, things that just are not going away. They've got a small waist and big hips for no reason at 12 years old, and you're thinking something's going on. Look into it. There's somebody out there who does know. The Lippy Butterfly actually began because I felt like I was alone in this journey, and I wanted to try to help somebody else that like could have just possibly been looking around like me. But what came out of it actually was a community of people. So the next piece of advice is, even if you can't find a doctor right now, tap into the community. There are a ton of people out there that are sharing information. And by that, I'm not talking about just the patient. Dr. Linda Ann Kahn shares a wealth of information. Dr. Herbst shares a wealth of information. The Lipedema channel, which is sponsored by Lympha Press, they do a roundtable, which I'm on once a month. Everybody who comes on there, we have special guests. They all share a wealth of information, but there's stuff out there. There's not a one-size-fits-all for anybody when it comes to lipedema anyway. So the more information you get, the more things that you try, the more things that you might be able to find, even just a little bit of relief, even if it's just a little bit of release, a tiny bit of less pain, a little bit more mobility, a little bit of hope, some joy, a little bit of love, because the life that some of us live, especially I know some of us are still homebound and bedbound, it can be really lonely. So tap into the community, tap into the people who are out here that want to, there's a lot of people who actually just want to connect with other people and have that shared experience. Like, there are some gruesome, nasty things that we go through that are like just embarrassing at times. When you end up getting to talk to somebody and you're like, oh, that happens to you too, it's cathartic.
Yeah.
And FDRF in itself is just an entire weekend of cathartic moments of people sharing. So don't forsake the community. Gather in together and try some way to get hope. You've got to get hope, because it feels hopeless.
And you know what? You touched on something really important where you said community is key. Like, I am always telling everybody, community is so important for anybody. Like, you need the support. You want to feel like you're not alone. And like you said, you feel like you're on this thing alone, like this, trying to figure out the answers to your questions and figure out what's wrong with you and how to get it. How many people have gone through it? And so then this is the reason why community, again, is so important, right? And being out here, please, I want to say thank you, because thank you for being out here, sharing your story, telling people what you've gone through, because not only is this for patients with lymphedema and that are going through the same things, but like people who don't know or might not understand, we also need to be educated as well. Like, lymphedema is it's like you said, people look at you and they think automatically you're not exercising, you're not eating right, but little do they know that there's these underlying issues that you're dealing with, and so this is for everybody. Like, everybody needs to be educated 100%. And another thing I want to say, you touched on something about, the stigma that you're getting because of it. Like, tell us about that. Tell me about the stigma. And you talked about it a little bit already, but tell me, what are people saying, thinking? Like, what have you come across? I know you said there's been some very ugly things, and gosh, I want to say I'm sorry, because I hate that you have gone through that. Like, you do not deserve that. Nobody deserves that. Like, as women, again, we are so much struggling with our self-esteem, and then here people are breaking you down. Like, stop breaking people down. Let's work together. Let's support each other. Like, tell me about your stigma.
Even recently, I got talked to in a restaurant. Someone said, have you considered weight loss surgery? Like, it would do great for you. You would look great if you had weight loss surgery. I'm like, I have had weight loss surgery. So sometimes it's in the way that people present themselves as being helpful, but really what it is that immediately they looked at you and they made a judgment about you. And that happens, it happens no matter whether you're in a doctor's office setting, in a pool setting, sometimes even when you're trying to better yourself in an educational setting. I've had teachers even say things to me like, well, you're just a lazy student. And I'm like, you're assuming that I'm lazy, but if you look at my GPA, it doesn't say that. So you're making that judgment based off of my appearance, not based off of what I produce.
Absolutely. I'm like flabbergasted at some of the things that you're saying. Like, I can't even believe, but again, we do live in such an ugly world, but like, to have to deal with it, like, you're personally going through it. Like, I can't even imagine, like, you go home at night and you're like, wow, oh my God, I can't believe people talk to me like that. Like, it makes you
even worse now. Now that people can hide behind their keyboard or their phone, it can get to be even worse. You know, the things that people say online. Unfortunately, the pear shape has been tremendously fetishized. So even male interactions can be really, really off-putting. What people say in the comments underneath pictures, sometimes they have to be deleted. But then even just the way that men feel like they can treat you because of your size or because of your disability and stuff like that. Like the way that it's looked at in the world, and especially now that I understand that it's a condition that people are fighting with, that they're in pain, that they're struggling through, that it sometimes it feels like it's ruining their lives, and then it can be sexualized, or looked at as being disgusting. You're disgusting. I've had comments like, "I bet her booty stinks." And I'm like, can you not?
Wow. Like, wow. People have the audacity. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you want to
Audacity
just grab
runs
them and just like,
rampant these days. Yeah, audacity runs very, very rampant in the world.
mm,
But at the end of the day, I think that one of the things that I've been getting back to is who is Angelique, and trying to stand strong in just who Angelique is. And that is definitely not always easy, especially right now. I'm in a grieving process. So standing on that is like, it's been more difficult. But you can kind of get lost inside of this lipedema body because it doesn't look like how you feel. When you are able to move more freely, it's like you're carrying more than you actually feel like you're carrying. But then at other times, it feels like you're still carrying something with you. So you're always carrying something, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it's you that you're carrying. And so with that, and then with what society says about you, about the way that you look, about the way that you walk, or about the way that you must smell, about your habits, about your character, all of that being infiltrated in your mind, trying to just understand, like, this is who Angelique is. This is what Angelique enjoys. This is what Angelique is going to do regardless of who's looking at her or what their opinion is. That is still that stigma that goes back to, like, you have to just keep going back to other doctors. Because that first doctor that looks at you and says something really, really hurtful can sidetrack you. It can completely throw you off of wanting to do anything else. It's not okay. I need this. Angelique needs this. So I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to find another doctor. I'm going to put my big girl panties on, and I'm going to try this again and again and again and again.
good. And that's amazing. I feel like that's the type of attitude that people need to have. And like people have like I'm glad you're on here today because then somebody might be watching this and saying, I needed this today. Like this, I needed to hear this, I needed to feel this, like because they might be struggling at home saying, I am it's not nothing's working, I'm not feeling better, I keep getting sick, you know, it's again going back to that community. Like now we know you're out there, Angelique, and people are going to be following you, checking out your journey. You know, you're going to be inspiring others, and that's amazing. That's what again community is all about, right? How can we inspire others to be a better them? And like you said, you know, who are you? Like your lymphedema is not just who you are, like you are other
Right.
things, and that's the important part that people need to realize as well. And I get it, like I understand, like I can't even imagine what you go through, right? And what you went through as a child and a teen and as adult. So I'm just like, your strength is amazing, and I think that it's inspirational, and I think people need to hear your story so that they can say, I'm not alone.
You're definitely not alone. That is the greatest thing that I found out in this journey, is that you're not alone. It feels like it sometimes. But even the most ridiculous things that you can think of that you're dealing with, someone else has dealt with that. The most gruesome stuff that you're dealing with, someone else is dealing with that. You might think that it's just impossible, but inbox some people, write some people. I promise you, someone is going to say, I know exactly what you're talking about, or I know someone who is dealing with that. Let me connect you to them. 'Cause I think that we get it. I think the lipedema community probably gets it a little bit more than some other communities, because we know that feeling of being alone and being alone, like actually being alone in your house for long periods of time, and needing that connection, and sometimes having that connection being the only connection being online for long periods of time. We know that we need each other. We have to have each other, and I've seen just that connection bring so much hope to people. So I hope that that continues to spread, but especially in this Lipedema Awareness Month, what I'm hoping is that we can reach some people who are suffering through it in silence, that don't even know that this is what they're dealing with. Like, they're walking into buildings and they've got these big old fat thighs and these big huge calves, and they look like they are, to me, they're pretty. Every time I see one of them, I'm like, your legs are so beautiful. But that's because it's a family trait for us to have really big legs. But then I know underlying there's some pain that they're experiencing, some stinging in those areas, some hardening that needs to be smoothed out, some fatigue that is just kind of just unexplained, and other pains that they're dealing with. I'm hoping that somebody sees and says, you know, like, I have an aunt that is dealing with that, or I have a niece that we can tap before she hits her teens or before she hits puberty, and actually get the information to them before they're stage 3, before they're stage 4, before it is visible. Because there's a stage where a lot of people don't even realize it, that they have it. I believe that they're saying that it affects 11% of women. And with that being said, most people know someone who has it. They just don't know someone who has it presented like me. But there are a lot of women in the earlier stages that, if they understood why they were struggling so badly to lose weight in those areas, why those areas were hurting, why the skin was orange peely, then they would never have to get to stage 2 or stage 3, or they wouldn't have to actually seek the more invasive procedures. There's so much information out there that there might be nutritional changes that they could do, or just a simple modification in what they put on, like wearing compression. Just little things that can actually help them before it actually gets too bad.
And so here, Angie just put a comment up that her 16-year-old is showing signs. So what advice do you have for Angie at this moment?
Angie Hampton is part of the community. So I'm going to say, tap into the community, Angie, but she already knows that. But the same thing would be for anybody else. To make sure that you get involved. I think that Facebook, oddly enough, is a great starting place, especially for parents who are looking for information for their kids. There's so much information that are in the Facebook groups out there, and it's a more personalized setting, so you can ask a question right in there. Like Lipedema Fitness is a good place to start. Actually, that would be an awesome place to start. She has a wealth of information, and a lot of people in her group that contribute and that are caring and can tap into and give information, kind of just wrap their arms around. There's not like a one doctor or one surgeon or one diet. There are new things even that are being presented. But the main thing is get the information. It's out there. Get the information, and definitely the standard of care is probably another good starting place for them, because that's where she's going to get a lot of information about what it is, how it's treated best, and like kind of the best practices to go forward with. But then that's also the information that she'll be able to take to whether it's a PCP, a physical therapist, or even a garment fitter, in order to give them the correct information and spread the information, because we need to get that standard of care out there as far and broad as possible.
Absolutely, especially with some of the situations you've been through. I'm just like shocked. Like, come on, guys, let's get it together.
I know that we're in a different day now, and I am so grateful for that. My journey obviously started in the 80s. My mom had no information in the 80s. There was in the internet that she could even Google at that time. And then my young adult years started in the early 2000s. And so like trying to get information was still a very, very slow process. But it is so inspiring how much information is out there and how much information is just readily available right at your fingertips. The Lipedema Foundation is also a great resource. Like they actually have resources available on their site that actually can help you along your journey with lipedema. And there's a couple of other websites that actually they have videos, YouTube videos, reels even. Now there's TikToks out there. Get your teen on TikTok, hashtag lipedema, and they're going to find Pale Ginger Pear, somebody out there that is giving hope, giving inspiration, and giving information.
Absolutely. And I think I've seen, she wasn't on TikTok, but she was like, I think on TLC, or I forgot what show it was. And she was, one sec. Okay. Oh, there I am. She was just kind of showing off her legs and her thighs, and she looked amazing, and she was proud, and that's what I want to see. That's the type of stuff that we need to put out there and say, hey, like, it's okay to look like this, and you need to be, like kind to people like this, and like, let's not bully, like let's support. What can we do? Like, let's be better people, guys. Come on, you know?
Let's be better people just in general. I think that just in general, it doesn't matter what you see a person, their outward appearance is. Sometimes you have to, every time, you don't know what that person is dealing with on the inside. You don't understand what conditions are underlying. There are things that are going on in the person's mental health that you don't have any clue of, their home life. I think if there's anything in this month, it's just be kind.
Yeah.
Be kind to one another, period. It doesn't matter if they're fat, if they seem too skinny. Be kind, period.
Exactly. And you know what? That's an amazing way to end today in our live. I am super honored to have talked to you, Angelique. Like, you are so amazing, so inspirational, girl. Like, you are amazing, seriously. And for anybody who needs to hear it, we are here. We are supporting. Like, let's be better people. Let's be kind. Like, let's be a better society, guys, okay? Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah. It's not that hard. Be kind.
Yeah.
Not hard.
Angelique, thank you so much for checking. Let's do that again. Thank you for chatting with me today. It's Friday, okay? Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate you so much. We will be dropping down tons of resources in the comments. Please check us out. I'll be putting the video on the feeds, and we appreciate everybody, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.